Hello, welcome to Life Rhythms, Tarot, Food, and Spirit. I'm here to do a video response to Ethony and her hashtag 31 Days of Tarot. And so in the spirit of wanting to catch up a little bit, because I'm jumping on the train day 4, today I am going to respond to day 2, 3, and 4, which are basically asking the question, what are your top 5 tarot decks, top 5 oracle decks, and top 5 tarot books? So for me, that's actually pretty straightforward, especially with the books and the oracle decks, because I don't have a vast library of either. And for the tarot decks, I chose to simply I'm choosing to simply show the decks that I worked with kind of the most this year. So let's begin at the beginning, which would be with my Mother Piece deck. And anybody who's watched me at all has probably heard me say that this is the first deck that I ever received. I've had the deck for, not this particular deck, but I've had a deck for 20 years. I pretty much received the deck as soon as it was published, and it is a deck that I have worked with. It has woven its way in and out of my practices for 20 years. So I'm very... this deck is very sentimental to me, I guess I should say. And I also do have a lot of very connected and have had many important readings for myself and for others with this deck through time. So this would be my Mother Piece deck. And I'm not doing these in any particular order, like most loved to, 5th. This is just the order that I have them sitting on my table. Next deck would be, and this is a more recent acquisition. I got this deck probably in October of 2017. Tarot of the Crone. And I use this deck quite heavily for the October Instagram challenge, Shadow Work October, and that was my first Instagram challenge, and I really thoroughly loved and engaged with that community there, and it really opened up a whole nother experience for me. And this deck provided the perfect template and gateway for that experience. In many ways, I feel like this is a more updated expression of the Mother Piece. It sounds strange to say, but I feel like they are sister decks in some way, for me, energetically. This is definitely a lot more spare, but they go together for me energetically in a lot of ways. So that's the second deck. The third would be, and this is in a way a little bit of an outlier, but this is the Thoth Tarot, and this deck came to me through my beloved, my partner, and I came across this deck. He has the large format of the deck, and this was probably really the second deck after the Mother Piece for me, which is a very strange, there's a lot of distance between those two decks. And so when I first came across it, I was like, whoa, what is this? And then I kept going, whoa, what is this? Wow, what is this? Whoa, yeah, this has a lot to say, offer. So this deck is a for me, a much more intellectual deck, and the system is quite different. This kind of opened the gateway for me to really want to study a system in this practice. And whereas the mother piece has always been much more intuitive for me, you know, right there, direct, this kind of opened the gateway to a lot of mysteries and the possibility of the mysteries of tarot. So I started working with this deck about 5 years ago. But used it quite a lot this year, more than in the past years. So then the next deck, which was a gift, came as a complete, it was not on my radar, knew nothing about it, showed up one day at my mother's home, which is where I've been healing and living for much of 2016, 2017, and the package came for me one day, and I just no idea what it was. And this is the Dream Dust Shamanic Tarot by Sue Kovacs, and she is an artist, a contemporary artist. I think she's pretty young. She would be in her late 30s, maybe 40. I'm not sure. And I believe she lives on the East Coast here. And she, a dear friend of mine, knows her somehow. I still don't know how. They know one another, though. And so the deck was gifted to me by both of them. So I was like, wow, what? Now this is it's completely abstract. And really a deck where you are opening up to your intuitive mind, senses, heart, mind. And this is just a gorgeous deck. I don't find myself picking the deck up a lot to do readings with, but I do energetic check-ins more with this deck, and single card pulls, because the imagery is just so rich in that abstract way. So yeah, but this is a very dear deck to me on many levels. The only issue that I take with this deck is I just wish she makes the suggestions about the cards and their meanings at the bottom. And I find that somewhat distracting, and I haven't done any trimming of decks yet for many reasons. I just haven't approached that, and I'm not even sure how I would approach trimming this deck. I mean, I guess it would just be straightforward. I would take all the white off. I don't know. Anyway, I haven't thought about that. So the prompts at the bottom remain, but it does not detract me from using the deck, and it's a gorgeous deck. And it was a deck that led me to the Margaret Peterson deck, which is not one I'm going to show right now, but the fifth deck for me in terms of use for 2017 is the Marielle. And this deck is just beyond lush with its imagery. I don't know that I'll pull it forward directly right now, but I've said that the Empress card, I'd like to just jump in that card and kind of live in her little pouch where the baby is, and all the fruits, the red fruits, the lush red fruits around her. But to me, this deck shows both beauty and horror together in many of the images, and in a way perhaps I related a lot to it this year in 2017 because I had quite the juxtaposition of those two ends of the spectrum. Oh, and look, here she is in 2017, in my life in 2017. So, yeah, so this deck has really spoken to me in 2017, and I am sure to be continuing to use it in 2018. So now on to the top 5 oracle decks. I don't even have 5 oracle decks. That's not true. Maybe I have 6, okay? So, and 3 of them are the Oracle of Oddities. So this is one, Oracle of Oddities 1, which I only came to because she reprinted it and donated the proceeds to the relief in Puerto Rico. And here I have 2 and 3 together, and this deck is hands down my go-to Oracle deck for just daily pulls or weekly pulls, or I'm just like wanting a check-in about something, and out comes Oracle of Oddities. And I love, and I wasn't expecting this, the chakra cards, and so these interspersed in with the rest really makes this a profound deck for me to work with. So all 3 of those, and then would be soul cards. I have soul cards 1 and 2. I just pulled out 1 because I've used this a bit more, but to be honest, this is actually on my list to have more in rotation in 2018. I did not end up using it as much as I thought I would in 2017. So in many ways, I'm glad to be answering this so that it drew me to the reminder of wanting to have this deck more into my work flow, my exploration flow in 2018. So, I believe we consider this an oracle deck. I consider it an oracle deck. Soul cards. I mean, look at these. In a way, these, for me, would pair energetically quite fluidly with the Marielle. I don't know, maybe that would be overkill, but they have a similar energetic tone to them. Then the other deck that I will show, I can get these back into the box, which is a prize. I think many of us consider this to be a prized deck, and it is the Weaver's Oracle by Carolyn Hillier, and this is a deck that I have been using, choosing a card weekly to have one of these shamankas with me as my companion, my guide, my teacher for the week. And I may move to doing this more as a monthly pull this year, because I do have other desires, other decks that I want to work with, and for me, I really don't like to have a lot of over input, imagery, and concepts for myself. So in terms of my own personal work, I am considering moving to doing a monthly pull, and then if I'm jonesing to have a bump of energy from it, I of course can always dip in and choose another card as a companion card in mid-month, or however I might feel called to do so. So this would be the last Oracle deck that I have to share with y'all. So that's, oracles are short and sweet for me. I'm open to being inspired to other Oracle decks maybe in 2018, but I also feel quite nourished by what I have. So 2017 was quite the year of acquiring new decks, especially since I've used Tarot as a system for myself and for clients for over for 20 years, and that I've gone most of that time with just one deck, and then another deck wove its way in, and then another deck, but that was over quite an expansive time. And so in even the latter half, I should say, of 2017, I have collected quite another number of decks, and so I don't want to get to the point where decks are just sitting on my shelf, unless there are a couple